दुनिया में वही शख्स है ताज़ीम के काबिल, दुनिया में वही शख्स है ताज़ीम के काबिल, जिस शख्स ने हालात का रुख मोड़ दिया है। अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर स्टूडेंट्स, दिस इज़ सेकंड लेक्चर इन पाकिस्तान स्टडीज़. The title of lecture is Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, his ideology and Aligarh movement. In this lecture, we will focus on the efforts of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan which he made for the uplift of the Muslims of the British India. Before starting the topic, let's talk about the objectives of the topic. After studying this topic, you will be able to know about the personality of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. You will get knowledge about Aligarh movement, about the ideology of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, about the educational, political, social and religious services of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and you will also know about the impacts of Aligarh movement. The contents of the topic are introduction, background, ideology of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, what Aligarh movement was, services of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, impacts of Aligarh movement, and in the end we will conclude the topic. Let's start our topic with a brief introduction of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the most eminent Muslim figure of 19th century. He born on 17th of October 1817. His father name was Mir Muttaqi and mother name was Azizun-Nisa. After early education, he joined East India Company in 1835 as a clerk in the Court of Law. In 1846, he promoted to chief judge. He was very disturbed by the poor condition of the Muslims, so he decided to devote himself for the Muslims. He knew that without making a compromise with British, Muslim couldn't make progress in any field of life. He tried to bring close to each other. He worked as a bridge builder between the Muslims and the British. He died on 27th of March 1898. Let's see the background of the topic. The Muslim ruled on India from 712 to 1857. Their decline brought them face to face with many new problems. The failed attempt of the War of Independence in 1857 made the condition of the Muslims very miserable. The year of 1857 is always remembered as a great deal of sadness and pain. War of Independence resulted in a total collapse of the Muslims in every field of life. They were being ignored by the Britishers. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the person who played a prominent role of a bridge builder between the Muslims and the Britishers. He worked for both, for the Hindus and for the Muslims, but after Urdu-Hindi controversy, he changed his concept and worked for the betterment of the Muslims. He began to work with an extraordinary devotion for the improvement of their condition. His two-nation theory ultimately resulted in the creation of Pakistan. Let's see the ideology of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. What was his ideology? Or you may say what were the objectives of the Aligarh movement? Firstly, he wanted to modernize the Muslim. Secondly, he wanted to remove the misconception of the Britishers. He wanted to motivate the Muslims to learn English language. He wanted to remove the enmity between Muslims and the Britishers. He wanted to restore the confiscated properties of the Muslims. Now let's see what Aligarh movement was. It was a movement for the educational, social, political and economic uplift of the Muslims. It gave political and social awareness to the Muslims of the subcontinent. Let's see the services of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. First one is educational, then political reforms, literary works, social and religious reforms. Now firstly talk about the educational reforms of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He was one of those early pioneers who recognized the critical role of education for the empowerment of the poor and backward Muslim community. He began to prepare the roadmap for the formation of a Muslim university by starting various schools. He opened school at Muradabad in 1859, then at Ghazipur in 1863. He established scientific society at Ghazipur in 1863, which was shifted to Aligarh in 1864. The Aligarh Institute Gazette was an organ of the Scientific Society, was started in March 1866 and succeeded in transforming the minds in the traditional Muslim society. His objective was, the objectives of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was to build a college. For this purpose, he established in 1857 MAO school, which upgraded to MAO college in 1877 and ultimately upgraded to the MAO University after his death in 1920. Um, the aim of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was not only restricted to the establishing a college at Aligarh, but at spreading a network of Muslim managed educational institutions throughout the country. Keeping in this view, he instituted All India Muslim Educational Conference in 1866. Let's see the political reforms of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the person who gave the idea of two-nation theory. Before Urdu-Hindi conflict, he believed that Hindus and the Muslims are the two eyes of a bride. After Urdu-Hindi conflict in 1867, he was convinced that these two nations never be united. So he worked very actively for the defense of the Urdu. At that time, when India was demanding that civil service examination should be held in India, then he was who again stood for the rights of the Muslim. He was not. He was on the opinion that it would be suitable for those countries in which, from highest to the lowest, belong to one nation. It would not be suitable in India where people belong to two different nations. When Indians demand a local self-government and separate electorate system, he was again thinking about the benefits of the Muslims. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan pointed out that representative government in India would means that the majority community would acquire control over the other communities. At that time, he was thinking about the Muslims, who were not only weak but also less in number. He thought that Muslim will be suppressed by the majority. Now let's talk about the political associations which were established by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Among them, the first was the British Indian Association. It was founded on 10th of May 1866. He believed that Muslims should do something to aware about the conditions and matters of the Indians. He believed that an association should be established in England and also in India in every district throughout. Through this, they could convey their demands and objectives to the government and to the parliament. The nobles from the Hindus and the Muslim members appreciated this idea and they named the society as British Indian Association. The second association was Patriotic Association. This was established on August 1888 by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan at Aligarh. The third one is Muhammadan Anglo-Oriental Defence Association of Upper India. In December 1893, a meeting of some Muslim leaders was held in the house of the Sir Syed Ahmad Khan to discuss the political situation of the Muslims. It was then decided to form an association. It was founded by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and Muslims decided its name as Muhammadan Anglo-Oriental Defence Association of Upper Indians. The objectives of these associations were to protect the political interest of the Muhammadans and to discourage the popular political agitation among the Muhammadans. Now let's talk about the literary works of the Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. His literary works are as under. First one is Asrarul Asanid. Asanid, it is an archaeological masterpiece providing information on countless historical buildings in Delhi. The second one is the causes of the Indian revolt. In 1858, he wrote this pamphlet in Urdu and then later translated into English. He believed that the only cause of revolt was the non-admission of the natives into legislative council. The third one is the Tabayyanul Kalam. He produced the Tabayyanul Kalam containing 10 discourses and, two appendices that he tried to bring Muslims and British close to each other by this work. In this work, he told about the common things of these two religions. Then he wrote a pamphlet with the name of Tehqiq-e-Lafz Nisara. This is a pamphlet. He also tried to remove the misconception of the Britishers. The Muslim writers who used the word Nisara in their writings, they were punished by the government. British government took it into wrong meanings. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, through this pamphlet, tried to explain this word. He wrote that this word Nisara means helpers, and this word is also used in Holy Quran for Jesus alayhi salam. After that, Britishers didn't make any objection on this word. Then he wrote Ehkame Tame Ahle Kitab. The objective of this work was to bring the Muslims close to the Britishers. He proved that dining with Christians was not irreligious. So he tried to remove this misconception. He gave answers to the objections against interdining with Christians and wrote that there is no religious restrictions on interdining with Christians. He also quoted verses from the Holy Quran in the support of his opinion. Then he wrote The Loyal Muhammadans of India. In 1860, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan published a pamphlet, The Royal Muhammadans of India. In this, he remembered the Britishers, the services of the Muslims during mutiny. He told them that many Muslims saved their lives, the lives of the English men, women, and children at the risk of their own lives, and told them that Muslim world suffered a lot during and after the mutiny. Now let's talk about the social and religious reforms of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan wanted that Muslims of the subcontinent should get an honorable position in the Hindu-dominated society. For this purpose, he not only opened many schools but also established an orphanage at Muradabad. He tried to create job opportunities for the Muslims. He wrote Khutbat-e-Ahmadiyya in 1869. In this book, he tried to defend Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, let's talk about the impacts of the Aligarh movement. The political services of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan had great impacts. His services changed the minds and thoughts of the Indian Muslims. It was due to his services that Muslims were thinking about their rights. The impacts of their services are: first one is compromise between the Britishers and the Muslims. His services developed the sense of compromise between the English and the Muslims, and this was the main purpose of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's struggle movement. He wanted to change the mind of the Muslims because he knew that he knew very well that without compromising with the Britishers, the survival of the Muslims became very difficult. So it was due to his efforts that the behavior of the Britishers changed toward the Muslims. These things opened the way of progress for the Muslims. The second impact was the political training of the Muslims. Muslims got all political training by these institutions which were founded by him. When Aligarh boys took part in the non-cooperation movement, it was the logical development of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's educational efforts. That is why Maulana Muhammad Ali correctly said, सिखाया था तुम ही ने कौम को ये शोर व शर सारा, सिखाया था तुम ही ने कौम को ये शोर व शर सारा, जो इसकी इंतहा हम हैं तो इसकी इब्तदा तुम हो। The MAO college produced all type of political figures, revolutionaries, nationalists and leaguers. The other impact is the creation of Muslim League. The people who trained by the institution of Aligarh took an active part in the politics of the Muslims. These people laid the foundation of Muslim League. Last but not least impact is the creation of Pakistan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the person who gave the idea of two nation theory. This thing created a sense of awareness in the minds of the Muslims and ultimately came into the shape of creation of Pakistan. All the people who took an active part in the creation of Pakistan, or you may say took part in the Pakistan movement, were trained by the institutions which were founded by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Now let's conclude this topic. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the person who from the very first day was very conscious about the rights of the Muslims. He was not an obsequious of the Britishers. He just wanted he just wanted the progress of the Muslims, and he knew very well that the Muslim, without developing good relations with Britishers, couldn't make progress in any field of life. Maulana Abdul Haq wrote that the first stone of the foundation of Pakistan was laid down by this man. It's all from my side. I think this lecture will be helpful for you to get better understanding about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan and about Aligarh movement. If you have any question, you may ask. You are always welcome. Thank you very much for listening me. Allah Hafiz.